This is news today on Joy News. Coming up in the bulletin, 2 persons who tested positive for coronavirus at Old Fadama here in Accra are on the run. We bring you details. Meanwhile, staff of St. Augustine's College in Cape Coast unhappy with choice of school as isolation center for testing of COVID-19 cases. We get details. We also take trips to some of the markets in Accra and Kumasi as city authorities try to enforce social distancing protocols there.
Yes, that's why I'm going around with the market queen. And she's also observing what is happening. If the fact comply with the thing, we'll close it.
And minority in parliament is challenging claims that approval has been given to the finance minister to spend 1.2 billion Ghana cedis from the contingency fund to help deal with COVID-19 issues.
The authorization that's whereas under Article 171, you requested of us, we grant you this approval. He can start spending the moment he gets this in the next 30 minutes.
We made a proposal based on what the ranking member had read, that you don't come for the House to take money from the contingency fund and put it into the consolidated fund. So come and make a request for a waiver of the taxes for the nurses.
In business, global oil producers set to meet later today to agree on production cuts. We tell you why Ghana should be concerned. Stay with us for details. Thanks for joining us. Now, on Thursday morning, over 1,000 traders besieged the forecourt section of Dr. Mensah, part of the Kumasi Central Market, to collect identity cards as they prepare to run shift systems at the market. The newly introduced arrangement is to help the social distancing protocols. Now, for now, over 2,000 traders have been allowed to sell their goods. My colleague Nana Sensu Mensah has been interacting with traders and city authorities from Kumasi Central Market.
She's okay because of the virus. She has to come in terms with what the city authorities are recommending for them. So she's okay. So my Lydia represents a number of traders here at the Central Market, specifically at the Dr. Mensah section of the Central Market. That is what they have been going through now. So this is a representation of, let's say, almost all the traders here. All the traders are okay. They believe that the social distancing will help them to ensure that the market is not closed. So as you can see on the screens, the traders are somewhat observing the social distancing protocol, but I can't see any of the traders in PPE, that is a personal protective equipment. None of them are wearing gloves or, let's say, face mask to protect themselves. But if you know this market used to be a very busy market. So the numbers were overwhelmed, but for now, even they say that they've been able to control the crowd. That is what you can see now. But if you ask of any personal protective equipment, no. As you can see in the screens, this is the section of the cassava traders. None of them is wearing a glove, no. Okay, very well. So let me talk to them and ask them why they're not wearing gloves. My patron from I feel so. You know, say auto batch na didn't I want to gloves and I said nose mask. Can't get out. I say didn't I want to gloves and I saw for the young show now I'm from Tom Banch. I see area bar. Also, don't say be someone. I said I should gloves and protective mask.
If I tell a woman, me, but I'm left me, Jenny.
So this is a fiesta. She says she has one in the house, but when she was coming to the market today, she forgot to bring along with the PP. Let me also speak to another trader here. If I tell you from say,
if I address the car,
you know what we do? On mask, on gloves. Then say who's through.
If I tell I go for 1 month for the any capre, is it a 10 feet any other? Any capre to 1 month, also in my name fancy.
If you want this card, but gloves and I say that one back.
To be able to on Kevin Blay. In the money address the car. If you got it.
Now, police and military teams deployed to Agbogloshi to enforce the 2-week lockdown are having a hard time keeping people away as hundreds troop to the market on a daily basis, mostly disregarding social distancing protocols announced by President Akufo-Addo. Fred Smith has been observing the situation and reports.
As you can see behind me here at the Agbogloshi market, there's lots of traffic, both human and vehicular, and you can take a look here at the number of people who are in there doing their shopping. On the road itself, the police and military teams deployed here are finding it very difficult to control the crowd. Lots of people coming in, and I've seen so far lots of vehicles already turned away. They're having their checks, but it's such a difficult thing for them. This person is now being turned away because he doesn't qualify to come to the market, but they are trying to make their way. The security team here have turned them away. There's another vehicle coming on, and they're also being turned away. That's the nature of the situation here at the Agbogloshi market. Very difficult for security men deployed to this area, controlling the crowd. There are some of them who give genuine reasons, so they are allowed. So as it stands, the military and police teams here are not even asking any questions. They're just turning away people attempting to enter the market. So this man has been let in because he's a staff of the Ghana Health Service. He has something valid to do in the market, so he's been asked to go in. But majority of these vehicles are being prevented from coming into this market. But this is supposed to be a community under lockdown. No sign of that here, so the police has taken the decision to block this road. No vehicles are coming either way. So passengers coming in are screened. Only healthcare professionals are allowed in, and the media.
Now, the Ablekuma North Municipal Assembly is threatening to shut down the Malam market over persistent breach of social distancing protocols by some market women. According to the Assembly, the market women have blatantly disregarded protocols in spite of a task force set up to ensure strict compliance. MCE for Ablekuma North, Kofi Ofori, who is unhappy with the development, says he will be forced to shut down the market if the advice goes unheeded.
We leave some people behind. I have leave it to the office, but my men are still here. The assembly member and some other few assembly, they will be here.
Should the situation persist, would you consider shutting down the market? Because I know some of the assemblies have already shut down the market.
Close that. We'll be for. That's why I'm going around with the market queen. And she's also observing what is happening. If they can't comply with the thing, we'll close it.
Would it be prudent for you to detail your men stationed to ensure that everything is fine? Because it looks like your men are not enough to ensure that they cover the full length of the market.
Well, I think we are enough. The police just left, as I said. They said there's a problem, so we are here with the police too. So we will manage to get things done.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you. You see, the problem is not also from only the market women, it's from the buyers. They are two, they will come 2, 3. One person comes.
Our staff of St. Augustine's College in Cape Coast say they are not happy with the choice of their school as an isolation center. According to them, they still live on campus and cannot share their facilities with persons who have been isolated and are being tested for COVID-19. Health authorities have arrived at the school and have begun preparing dormitories for the exercise. Richard Kojonyako joins us via telephone with more. Now, Richard, what exactly are the concerns of these staff?
Well, so their concern basically is that their school has been chosen as an isolation center for people that got associated with the confirmed case in the central region. And so earlier, the regional minister announced that a school each in every district would be chosen as an isolation center for their preparedness for this exercise. And so yesterday, when the confirmed case came, they were informed. So the teachers tell me that this morning, their headmaster informed them that this is the decision that has been arrived at by the health authorities, and so this place has been chosen. And so we were here when the health authorities started arriving, and then they have gone to one of the dormitories and they are preparing the dormitory for this exercise. But the teachers say that they live here with their children and other relatives, and they cannot share this facility with any other person. Why would they not choose any other facility? At best, they suggest that they should have chosen a day school where there would be no teachers on campus for this exercise to go on.
Now, Richard, tell us about the distance between the teachers' quarters and the dormitory facilities. Are they very close?
Well, I cannot say they are very close. I cannot say they are not close as well. But according to those who stay here, they will share similar facilities with these people, even though it's a dormitory that would be used and there are other toilets and washroom facilities within the school. But they feel that it is not safe for them. They tell me that it's a dangerous disease that they would not want to come very close to. And so that is why they are protesting.
Did they specify which facilities they will be sharing with those who are in the dormitories?
Well, they are yet to even commence the exercise, but the thought of it and then the information that was passed on to them alone scares them. And so that is why they feel that it is not appropriate for them to still live on campus. They are undertaking some still academic exercise, and they are conducting online classes for their students while they are home as well. And so they cannot really share. The emphasis is that this facility is inappropriate for this kind of exercise.
Have authorities responded?
There is no response from any of the authorities. We are waiting anxiously to get some word from the health authorities here, as well as the Metropolitan Assembly, because the two of them arrived at this decision and they informed school authorities, and that is why they are here to commence their activity.
Thank you, Richard Kojonyako, for those updates from the Central Region. Now, the minority in Parliament is challenging claims by the Chairman of Parliament's Finance Committee that approval has been given to the Finance Minister to spend 1.2 billion Ghana cedis from the contingency fund to help deal with COVID-19 issues. Among others, the money will be used to provide meals, pay for free water, as well as incentives to healthcare workers, plus 600 million cedis for soft loans to businesses. The Finance Committee met Ken Oforiatta yesterday after the Speaker referred the request to it and suspended sitting indefinitely. Chairman Dr. Mark Asibeye tells Joy News the committee authorized the approval and the minister can now spend the sum.
The authorization does, whereas under Article 171, you requested of us, we grant you this approval. He can start spending the moment he gets this in the next 30 minutes.
Okay. And without recourse to plenary?
No. The Constitution is clear. Article 1771. The minister will come to the Finance Committee. This whole business of ferrying this through the plenary, I can say that we could have avoided it. The Constitution is clear. The Constitution has general provisions on referrals being made by the Speaker. But the Constitution also in 177 has a specific provision which says that when an emergency arises, go to the Finance Committee. It's not for nothing that the Constitution envisages. The Constitution envisages that there will be times that Parliament is on recess, you cannot summon the whole 270. I can easily get in touch with the chairman, the members of the committee, they give this authorization. When they authorize, later on you bring the expenditure thereof. So
isn't that the point? That there is also reference to supplementary estimates.
So that's the 1772. So after spending, he will bring all the details.
Shouldn't it be before?
I didn't draft the Constitution. The framers of the Constitution say that we authorize the spending because it's an emergency. This is not the first time. We did it after the June 3rd floods when there was the swine flu. The two. We did it from the contingency fund. So this is not new.
They're also asking for electricity waivers. Generally to
somebody we have water. Yeah, so what next? Why didn't they add fuel, free fuel? When you go.
But Deputy Minority Leader James Kluche at Vergie says approval can only be given after the Finance Committee reports to the House and their recommendations are incorporated.
We made a proposal based on what the ranking member had read, that you don't come for the House to take money from the contingency fund and put it into the consolidated fund. So come and make a request for a waiver of the taxes for the nurses. then that 241 million can be used to pay for residential electricity use. Now, these are some of the recommendations that we made in the report, and we are expecting the committee to come up with a report for the plenary so that we can approve it. So that is a position. To us, as a minority, that is a position. We don't know whether the chairman will, and their side will agree to that and incorporate those recommendations and then bring a report to the House. But to us, we are expecting a report to come to the House, and for that matter, our recommendations should be incorporated in that report.
Now, 2 persons who tested positive for coronavirus at Old Fadama here in Accra are on the run 3 days after confirmation of their tests. Contact tracers had a tough time convincing them to agree to come into isolation and have since left the neighborhood. Contact tracers are currently on the ground with police trying to at least convince those who may have been in contact with them to take the test. Head of our health desk, Fred Smith, is there with the details. Well, he's here with us in studio. Fred, how did this happen?
Well, they've been going around since the enhanced contact tracing began, and on Sunday they took samples from a number of people within Old Fadama, and they got results on Monday that some 2 individuals were positive, a man and a woman. The woman we know details about, she's a Kayayo who turned out positive. Now, they had conversation with her so they can have her go into isolation so that she can be taken care of. But she refused to go with them. So the contact tracers had to now make contact with the police to try and force her out of the place. Now, this lady ran away. She never made herself available. And then they've been going there ever since. There's no trace of this lady. Today, I joined them as they moved in, and the entire community was in total chaos. Everybody coming around and even preventing the officers from taking samples from persons who may have already come into contact with them. Mind you, this lady lives in a single room with 15 other people and 3 children, 1 room, and she is positive.
What's being done about this, Fred?
Well, it's the reason they brought in the police to help. There were some immigration officers as well to help in bringing them, these persons to order. The community leaders, before I left the community, had agreed with the security and the contact tracers that they were going to get this lady to submit to government treatment. But they want this done on Sunday. Between this time and Sunday, the lady is still on the loose.
Why are they unwilling to have their samples taken and coming?
Well, there's rumor in the community that these persons, contact tracers, are there to draw their blood and give it to government for some rituals. And it's amazing, Daniel, you hear people say these things. So because of that, those who may have been exposed to this lady are still unwilling to give their samples out.
Fred, thank you very much for those updates. Now, working with 194 member states across 6 regions, the WHO is considered a key factor in the healthcare systems of many countries. From the inception of the outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic, the organization has been the go-to entity for direction on how to contain the situation. Now, the WHO has, however, come under criticism for being too slow and perhaps responsible for the extent of the spread. Joy News editor Fifi Kumsen looks at the issues in the following report.
As of March 2nd, 2020, more than 88,000 people had contracted the virus, with thousands of deaths. 90% of these infections were in China. Close to 9,000 of the cases had been recorded outside of China. But the WHO failed to declare the disease a pandemic. It explained why.
We appreciate that people are debating whether this is a pandemic or not. We're monitoring the situation every moment of every day and analyzing the data.
Around the world, experts advanced calls for countries to institute travel restrictions. But again, the WHO said this was unnecessary, again giving reasons.
There is no reason for measures that unnecessarily interfere with international travel and trade. We call on all countries to implement decisions that are evidence-based and consistent. WHO stands ready to provide advice to any country that's considering which measures to take.
But when thousands more continued to die, countries began instituting these travel restrictions. By March 17th, Europe was closing its borders. The United States had done same.
Coronavirus fears with only 11 U.S. airports now accepting flights from China. Contessa Brewer is at one of those, JFK International in Queens.
But at this time, the virus was almost everywhere. And this was the time China claimed it had flattened the curve. And now recovering, Europe had become the new epicenter of the spread. The United States looked into a grim future.
Because as I've said many times, and I'll repeat it, the worst is yet ahead for us.
The U.S. found the WHO's handling of the virus problematic. First, for China's lack of openness about the virus at the initial stages. It also said the WHO had believed China's official figures when the actual number of reported cases and deaths could be far higher.
We pay for a majority, a biggest portion of their money. And they actually criticized and disagreed with my travel ban at the time I did it. And they were wrong. They've been wrong about a lot of things. And they had a lot of information early, and they didn't want to, they seemed to be very China-centric. They called it wrong. They called it wrong. They missed the call.
For the WHO, this is only politics, one that the virus would take advantage of to spread even further. It's obvious that although the WHO stands to support its member states, countries around the world must take their destinies into their own hands and consider that any support from the WHO is only an adjunct to their own efforts. Fifi Kumsen, Joy News.
Now, some people who retail water in Accra have simply decided to cease operations. Residents of Teshi Camp 2 tell Joy News these water retailers have been their main source of potable water until government asks that the utility be made free for the next 3 months. They complain without supply from the retailers, the hand-washing protocols being encouraged by governments to stop the pandemic will be undermined. Atif Idris has more.
The lockdown and restriction order issued by President Akufo-Addo, a painful but necessary requirement to stem the spread of the deadly COVID-19, has also created unintended consequences to families, homes, and businesses. So, in his last address to the nation, President Akufo-Addo announced this particular relief.
Government will absorb the water bills for all Ghanaians for the next 3 months, i.e. April, May, and June. All water tankers, publicly and privately owned, are also going to be mobilized to ensure the supply of water to all vulnerable communities.
But it appears that waiver by President Akufo-Addo is not going down well with a lot of people. Here at Teshi Camp 2, the people are being denied that basic and necessary commodity, water.
Yakobu nsuo na omo se enya Akufo-Addo no di pipe no be si ho mo omo enti no ma yembu enti se ye pese ye bu a yenkwa Akufo-Addo office ho no na oyenkwa se no onfa polytank mbra ha na enya Akufo-Addo no di we pipe no be si ho mo omo enti yakobu a se no mo gi en sa no mo gi en enti yasi e problem no nsuo no e na ye problem pa enti sa ban bebe mo amaya e be ye nde pa.
So what she's saying essentially is that they've gone to these pumps trying to get water, but what the operators of those pumps are telling them is that the president isn't the one who purchased the tanks for them, and so his directive is not something they are adhering to. The people are now bearing the brunt here.
And the attorney say Kobunsuwa, almost say Scandia Omeji, Omo Fanche, if you say almost the Omedi, and this Omanjia, Omeda Didi. ana yenso so yeso na na etifi se mu dis kana mu dia mba che se yeso so ya enware ya enso horo yensa ya endidi ana.
The next point I'm going to, one of the precautionary measures for this whole COVID-19 pandemic is hand washing. You have to wash your hands whenever you hold doors and everything that people usually touch. How is your hand washing practice being affected by this, the fact that you don't have access to water? How is that affecting your hand washing practice?
Pacho, the attorney say I enso na mo say aban say yemu ni for 3 months. Almost say omo scan. Am I as to cry enso no cry ntimi book ese because ya bet na fear for lockdown. Obi anko adwuma. Enti say ni sika de beton so ayan san yentumi nworo. Sanitize all the found sakra still efi wo wonsa ho. Te say we here nso ade be woro. Enti because omo say omo scan enti no yentumi mbu nsuo. Enti ene ne problem ti a.
Nadat is also sharing the same experience as our sister right here, and what Najat added has to do with the fact that in her household they are unable to wash or frequently wash their hands, which is one of the precautionary measures required if you are to defeat and go ahead of the pandemic, as the president put it in his last address.
And I'm Mrs. Taketwa. Me pona me face a job, Quacrombe coincidence and Oya Colano. Or Quaya on Begis camera. Miss Orange, me maintain say yes, on Begis can't me crano. Me share that the 1 CDS and Mark Colanis on Franco. Or Quaya no ya Geniska. Ya Geniska no Sansu Boons, you know. Intino. And easy.
Sentinel is also sharing similar sentiment as has been shared by her 3 other colleagues here, that she had to pay for the essential commodity yesterday when
Now, away from COVID-19, Upper West Regional Minister Dr. Hafiz Bin Saleh is pledging not to interfere in any road safety-related arrests made in the region. Dr. Bin Saleh says this promise the police has empowered them to enforce road safety rules without fear of victimization. The region has so far recorded fewer road crashes this year compared with figures from last year.
I would give you the opportunity to go out there. I think that is the problem I have with most people. I have indicated since my assumption of office that I will not interfere when anyone is arrested. And the police will testify that this I have been able to abide by that. And that is yielding results, positive results.
Like what?
Like once we give instruction that people should be arrested, the police is aware that minister will not intervene. And once minister will not intervene, I have also given express instruction to them. They should not listen to anybody, be it a politician, a chief, a religious leader, or whoever. They should do their work. And I believe they will testify if you go to them that is yielding results because they are confident when they go out there to work. But I think that arrest alone will not
solve the problem.
It will not solve the problem. I think that what we need is to educate them and to make it very easy for them to be able to acquire road license. So we have intensified our education.
How are you doing the education?
First, road safety, and then MTTU. They have a pack where they go out there, involve road transport operators, particularly the transport unions. They involve them and they educate them. So if you realize, if you look at the accident rates in the Upper West region, it involves mostly private individuals than the commercial vehicles because they are unionized. It is very easy for us to target them and then involve them, educate them. So that is what we are doing. And every opportunity that we get, if we have a gathering, we give opportunity to the MTTU to educate the masses. And also, we have made it clear to the DVLA to make it easy for people who want to acquire licenses, so that once they are able to acquire licenses, at least they take them through some routine education on the usage of our road.
Do you feel the stringent procedures at the DVLA might be the reason many do not own licenses yet they ride?
No, that is not. It's just the usual Ghanaian attitude.
Coming up in business, global oil producers set to meet later today to agree on production cuts. We tell you why Ghana should be concerned.
Hi everyone, welcome to Business. My name is Darryl Kwao. Major global oil producers are set to meet later today to agree on production cuts. The failure by OPEC to agree cuts in March triggered a slump in oil prices. Already, oil prices have risen on expectations of an agreement to counter the slump in demand caused by coronavirus lockdowns. Raymond Nuokpo is an analyst with the Institute for Energy Security, and he has been explaining to me why Ghana should be concerned.
We are expecting a 10 million barrel per day cut from the whole meeting. So we are expecting those countries that are part of the OPEC Plus to agree to a 10 million barrel per day cut. And also we are expecting those countries that are part of G20 to also have an agreement for a production cut. So we have the likes of Canada and USA. For the USA, in the next 3 months, they are going to have a production cut of about 4 million barrels per day. So if you add the 4 million barrels per day to the 10 million barrels per day that is supposed to agree on today, that's going to be about 14 million barrels per day, which is good to stabilize the market and also increase the crude oil prices. Therefore, those countries like Algeria, Nigeria, and even Ghana that are crying because of the shortfall of revenue, they may start getting some increased marginal revenue from the oil reserves.
And Raymond, my last question to you will be, why should we be concerned here in Ghana what the outcome of that meeting will be?
Because at the beginning of the year, we projected that our oil revenue, we benchmarked our selling of barrels by 52, and prices are now down to 25, 26. So if this meeting is successful, it will increase prices to about 30 going to 40, meaning our revenue will go up. So it's very important for Ghana now that we need money to cushion the economy.
Now, you may have heard the Finance Committee of Parliament has approved an amount of 1.2 billion cedis for government to access money from the contingency fund to finance the coronavirus alleviation program. The Finance Minister, Kenneth Oyata, on Wednesday presented to Parliament the policy document seeking approval to spend that money. So where do we go from here? Executive Director of the Policy Initiative for Economic Development, Daniel Amartenim, joins me on the line. Good afternoon to you, sir. Now that the Finance Minister has the headway, how do you expect the coronavirus alleviation program to be rolled out?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think the move by the Finance Minister to spend 1.2 billion is in the right direction, taking into consideration the pandemic that is confronted the whole world and by extension Ghana. And looking at the breakdown, I think for now the areas where the monies will be spent on is quite okay in terms of the food, the buffer stock, water and sanitation, tax waiver for the health personnel, which is very important as a way of motivation, and also soft loans for businesses. To me, I think the areas are quite okay for now, but I have two critical issues with respect to the breakdown. Number one, the food packages and then the hot meals, about 280 million allocation. I think it's good. But the problem is that the finance minister must ensure that professionals are contracted to execute this particular agenda. We have a history where anytime we have an issue at hand or a policy to execute, we end up giving the contract to party faithfuls who may not have the capacity professionally to be able to meet the standard requirement for that particular policy. Because when we come to food, two critical issues are paramount. Number one, nutritional value and the quantity. So we need professionals who have the capacity to be able to deliver in terms of the quality, in terms of the quantity, and also the target citizens. If that is not done and the contract is given to party faithfuls, then at the end of the day, the intended target or objective will not be achieved, and that will not be too good to address the current challenge that we have. And
so that brings us to the issue of judicious use of funds and monitoring. So what kind of systems should be put in place?
Yeah, in my view, immediately the finance minister should put up a very professional committee, people with the know-how to ensure that the distribution of the funds and onward utilization of same will be supervised by this committee. I mean, maybe a 3-month committee made up of professionals, people with a background in terms of nutrition and then also social development and any other personnel with that capacity to supervise. We shouldn't been given to or left in the hands of party faithfuls because we have that history in terms of the school feeding. We have it where monies were given or contracts were given to party faithfuls, and at the end of the day, quality was not executed. So to me, as much as I support this initiative in terms of the allocation, my issue has to do with ensuring that the right people are given the contract to deliver, so that at the end of the day, we will achieve our target. So that money will not enter into pockets that are not supposed to receive such funding. Another issue to me, which is very important, I think is very good, has to do with soft loans for small businesses. By now, the Ministry of Finance should be able to gather data from AGI and then maybe GUTAC, so that we will identify small businesses that have the capacity to produce essential products and services for the citizens. There's another issue that the Ministry of Finance ought to look at, where by now you may have party faithfuls registering business in haste, or people who have businesses, dormant businesses, let me put it that way. Such monies will end up being allocated to them. We don't want to see that. We want the Ministry of Finance to identify real small businesses on the ground with the capacity to produce goods and services that will meet the aspirations of the citizens in this trying and challenging moment. If we are able to do that, then I'm of the view that this 1.2 billion allocation will really address the issue.
Okay, thank you so much for your thoughts. You had the Executive Director of the Policy Initiative for Economic Development, Daniel Amate, and him. And in the business segment, there's more news coming up on the marketplace. Do stay tuned. Sports is up next.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome to the sports segment with me, Oreku Wampofu. We start from some Ghanaian news where Ghana goalkeeper Fatau Dauda is calling for support for Black Stars coach C.K. Akono. Now Dauda, who played under coach Kwesi Appiah, is hoping to get a look in under coach C.K. and the Legon City's goalkeeper says the new coach can only be successful if we all support him.
I think the people outside should have confidence in whoever will be choosing to coach it, whether it's black or white. That's what I see it. If Ghana should support Coach C.K. Akono now, that they want him to succeed, he will succeed. If Ghanaians want C.K. to succeed, he will succeed, because everybody will pray, everybody will support him to do well. That's how I see it. It's about a nation supporting whoever the FA will choose to come and coach the team. Let's support the person, and the person will do well. That's how I see it.
That was captain of Ghana Premier League side Legon Cities. Let's now move to the English Premier League, where players have launched a collective initiative to help generate funds for the National Health Service and distribute them where they are needed most. A Newcastle midfielder and Ghana midfielder Christian Achu was part of the players who posted the statement about the NHS contribution. We will be bringing you more stories at 2 p.m. on Sports Today. But in the meantime, remember to stay safe and stay home.